right, like so. And then you're going to print out the elements of that array just like they are very easily in an enhanced for loop.
Oh, okay. So that would be for like the method public static void print if the one set of brackets array? Like the one.
So just like this is what I'm thinking more.
Oh, okay.
So every time you want to print an array, you gotta go for a for loop?
Right? Just like that. So use the enhanced for loop more to go through element by element, print them out, and don't forget the space here, right? Because there's a space between them. So in this case, you had this space, like so. And then at the end of that, you had a carriage return. Right? That's completely different though more than this right here.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the 2D array. And so the 2D array, when you go to print it out, it's very similar, but it's different in that you've got to print a character for the value. Remember the values in the 2D array are capped between 0 and 3 inclusive. So if it's going to be a 0, you're going to print out a dot. If it's a 1, you print out an exclamation point. If it's 2, it's an X. And 3, it's a hashtag, right? So, whatever. I call it the pound, but, right? So when you go to print it out, it's going to look like this more. Here's the solutions array printed out, and then here's each generation printed out with the characters. You're not even paying attention anymore. I'm up here waving my hands.
No. I am paying attention to words.
What? You're paying attention to my words? That's fine.
No, I am paying attention to you.
I know you are. I'm just giving you a bad time.
Yeah.
Giving you a bad time.
Dude, that's not very professional.
I know. My problem is I have a lot of sarcasm in what I say on
It's
stuff.
just how the class is going to be now. We're just going to tease him about being professional.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I kinda know.
Does that make sense though?
I believe so, yeah.
So this is going to be nested for loops. To print out the 2D array, it's going to be nested for loops, and you're going to actually have to look at the contents of the array subelement.
Oh, so the stuff on the board is for the 2D array?
This is for the 1D array.
Oh, shoot, okay.
This is for the 1D array.
Wait.
Wait
So
what?
So like,
That's the code for the 1D array to print out the
so
solution.
for what? So the board, I mean, the board, if it's 2D, you're gonna need for loops. And
You're going to need nested for loops, and you're going to have to look at the value inside the array because you're going to have to determine if it's a 3, then you're going to print out the hashtag. If it's a 1, you're going to print out the exclamation point. If it's a 2, you're going to print out the X.
Oh.
If it's a 0, you're going to print out the period. So these are all zeros, and that's a 3.
Oh. I really don't know how to get started the whole trying to toughest part. I just looked at it like, nope. I just.
Other questions just to start with, don't worry about printing out the characters, just print out the numbers. Right? So to start with, just print out the numbers just to make sure you're getting the right numbers. Adrian.
It's Aiden.
I'm sorry, I could not remember, and I couldn't remember. You've never corrected me, so Aiden, I apologize for that. I could never remember if it was Adrian or Aiden. It's the same thing I'm calling Caden. Cadence half the time because I'm an idiot.
Anyway,
But Aiden, sorry, go
so
ahead.
in the method given in the API for the printing where it starts actually counting off the days, it says that you're supposed to throw an exception if day is less than 1. But the coding in the main, day will always be less than 1. So
That's correct. That is my mistake. You will not throw an exception if day is less than 1. You'll throw an exception if day is less than 0.
Okay, I did
Yes.
correct to that.
Yeah, thank you. That was my mistake. That's not what I want to say. Aiden, I apologize, Aiden.
That's
I
fine.
really do. I didn't. I did most of the letters right. I just added an extra letter in there, man.
I mean.
No, thank you.
likely if
I do
actually
appreciate you
did it
correcting me. I
Just
really do.
because of how mine is spelled, you probably only got like 1 letter right.
No, I knew it was Aiden or Adrian, and I just couldn't remember. And half the days I call you Aiden and Adrian both in the same day, and you've never said anything to me till now. So, here, yes, right. The day will be 0 to start with, so you're going to make sure it's not less than 0. Yeah, and here, right. So this right here for this solution is this code right here, right. So line whatever this is right here is that code over there. This again then is going to have to be a 2 for loops or nested for loops where you print out, you look at the value of the array, and then you change it into a hash or an exclamation point or an X or whatever it is based on the value. But this is nested for loops. And then this is also nested for loops in that it's just the same thing as this, except for you just have to print out what day it is or what solution number it is or whatever you want to call it, right? That's what the PDF shows you here
Wait, the
is.
solution array is a 10 times 10 array, correct?
No, the generation array is a 10 by 10. So here you can see that is generation 0 is the first time.
This.
And then generation 1 is the first time you apply the solution to it, and generation 2 is the second time you apply the solution to it. So this is the generation array, this is the 2D 10 by 10 array. Keith, catch me up from class for a second. I thought you'd registered Keith, but I see you didn't yet, so.
Yeah.
Questions? How many people have started?
I finished.
I finished.
I've
Okay.
Kind of.
What?
Kind of.
Kind of started?
I've done it to shell. I have compiled a shell.
What, again, my code compile. So you should always have compiling code.
I know,
I'm not trying to be snotty about it, I'm just saying, I gave you compiling code. So
I know.
if the code doesn't compile, then it's something you did, not something I did. Right? So you should always have compiling code because I gave you compiling code. Right? Laura, I was gonna ask you something and I didn't hear what you said. So what do you mean you kind of started?
I tried to start it at 10 p.m. after finishing English homework. It was not a good time.
So you
that's-
weren't in the right mind to start on
No.
210 homework last night.
But I did come up with that question last night at least.
Well, so what you should be able to do at this present second right now is you should be able to write that print array, right? You should probably be able to write the print generations array, but not worrying about the characters, just printing out the numbers. You should be able to read in the numbers into the array, into both arrays, because I wrote that code for you yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So literally the only code I haven't written for you, more or less, is the printing the generations array and actually doing the calculations. Right? Everything else I wrote on the whiteboard yesterday and whatever. Kyle, go ahead.
Kind of unrelated, but if we wanted to, could we take this code and make Minesweeper?
You could absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, this is a version of Minesweeper in doing it. Yeah, but you could absolutely. Yeah. Kyle's cool. I know Kyle's gonna do all weekend. Ian, how you doing with it? It is Ian, right? Because I've been
Yeah.
not probably calling you the wrong
Yeah.
name. Right?
I basically didn't do much more than open it and like look through the code because I had a test today, so I did things
Okay, fine.
But
My suggestion is don't wait till Monday.
Yeah,
Right?
no, I
'Cause
know.
I'm not gonna be around on Monday, and when you start emailing me at 9 o'clock at night panicking because you just started it, I'm just gonna ignore them and let them go into spam. So no other questions, X? How you doing, man?
Tired.
Tired? It's a long weekend coming up, so. Did you have your hand up, Ian, or you just scratching
Yeah,
your head?
I was saying, from what I've seen in class, it makes sense why.
Yeah, especially after we walked through it a couple
Yeah,
times
exactly.
yesterday, right? Kinda makes sense after
I know
yesterday.
how I'm gonna
Blade, when you smile at
Holding our hand through it.
Tom?
go. Shoot.
How you doing? Thanks, Tom, appreciate that. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Good, you start on this?
No,
Not yet.
not yet, no.
Didn't even double click on my
I've
JGrass
I've
project?
extracted it and yeah, I looked at the project, but I haven't really done anything.
Keith,
Is the iterations of the 10 by 10 array, is it just gonna increment on its own?
I'm
Or
sorry?
do you have to enter values in, like, go from solution 1 to solution 2?
it's gonna do it on its own.
It's gonna do it.
It's gonna do it on its own. Because remember what happens here, Keith, is the first time we run that solution, we make that array like we talked about yesterday, right, that new array. That new array then becomes the generation array for the next time we run that solution. Right? Any other questions? Okay, so let's go back to file processing we started talking about the other day. And let's go back to it. So if you recall correctly, and I'm not gonna ask you for a bunch of numbers, but if you recall correctly, what we're trying to do was, in this case, we had at the top of the file the number of numbers we were gonna have, and we knew how many numbers were gonna be in the file. Right? We knew it was gonna be a 16 element array, it was gonna be 10 by 10 type of thing. The other day, we wrote just a bunch of numbers on the whiteboard. Right, something like that. When we don't have at the top of that set of numbers, the number telling me how many numbers are in that file, right? And we're calling this nums.text. So in our main, right, a couple of things we did. First of all, when we declared main, right, we had public static void main string args. And we had put throws exception on top of main. Okay? And that was to handle the fact that the scanner object, when it was dealing with a file object, said you could potentially have a file not found. Bless you. Okay? So then inside of that, we declared a file reference called INF for input file. We set it to null. We declared a count so we could figure out how many numbers were in that file. Set it to 0. Okay. We declared a scanner object for the keyboard. Okay. We declared a scanner object for the keyboard, and then we declared a scanner object for reading from the file, which isn't doing anything right now, so we set it to null. Then what we did, if you recall, is we said, okay, hey, let's get from that file utils the name of a input file, and then let's open that input file and return that input file after we verified it existed, right? So we wrote that code the other day. Everybody okay with that, right? It's pretty much the exact same code then you copied and pasted in your homework. That's due on Monday. And then from there we left off on, hey, let's say count gets file utils dot count records, and we passed it fin, and we passed it in this case the number 1, meaning that each line or a single line represented a single record. And we left off on Thursday talking, or Wednesday talking about how if we had Steiner on one line and Steiner on one line and Garrett, what's your last name, Garrett?
Hardy.
Garrett on one line and Hardy on the next line, that would be 4 lines, but that would just be 2 names in there because the first name and the last name were on separate lines, right? So going back to that again, that's going to look like this: public static int count records final scanner fin final int lines per. Okay. So in here then, we had our precondition: if lines per is less than 1 or fin is null, then we know we're going to throw a new illegal argument exception, right? Now just shortcut it, right? TNIAE is just throwing new illegal argument exception. And then after that, we're going to declare a new count. So int count gets 0. Then we're going to say, well, fin dot has next Not next line, but next value. Right, and then we're gonna say fin dot next line. We're not gonna store it anywhere, we're just gonna read it and get rid of it. We're gonna count it. Okay. And then at that black line I just drew on the right board, we know one of two things. What is the one of two things that we know? Are those Asics, Catherine? Those shoes, what are they?
No, they're Adidas.
Adidas, is that what it is? I couldn't tell from the flower, I couldn't remember. So what do we know? One of two things we know at that black line is what? Go ahead, Kyle.
How many like pieces of data we have?
Yes, but give me a specific number, Kyle. You don't actually have to give me that specific.
Oh.
Okay, so what we know at that black line is the following. Count as 0 or count as not 0, right? Correct? How do I get count to be a 0?
There's nothing.
What's that?
There's nothing.
If the file's empty, you're right, Ann. If the file is empty, count is going to be 0. Because if the file is empty, there is nothing to read in the file. We skip over, we're here, count's gonna be 0. So at this juncture, we're gonna say, hey, look, if count is equal to 0, then we're gonna throw a new runtime exception saying that count is 0, because hey, if count's 0, then we can't process this file, right? Count is 0, we cannot process this file. Okay? If count is not 0, then what do we want to do? Do we want to just return it? So if count's not 0, right, and that blue line right there says count's not 0, correct? We can agree with me on that? Why don't you take your hat off? I thought it was like your thinking hat.
No, my head was getting sweaty, so I just took it off.
Hey, you got flowers.
Yeah, they're for a friend of mine.
They are for a friend of yours, or you didn't get them? You're giving them?
I'm giving them, yeah.
Oh, very nice. Okay. What do we know at that blue line right there? Count's not 0. So now I have two possibilities. What are my two possibilities? Emily? Everything was fine in the file and I'm happy and can go lucky, right? But what if not everything was fine in the file? How can the file not be fine?
I'm assuming that we can assume that everything is a valid input because the whole if.
Well, we know up to this blue line that we got a count that is not 0, right?
Well,
Because if we had a count that was 0, I would have exited the program right there.
Oh wait, count. What?
So this tells me the count is not 0.
What count taking?
It tells me it is greater than 0.
Oh.
Okay, that's what this tells me. What's that?
She said, what if the count is negative and you can't?
It can be. It cannot be negative, right?
Okay.
And I know that because I started at 0.
Oh.
Right? Count cannot be negative. Count is only positive here. So what's my problem then? Why don't I just simply say return count divided by lines per? Okay? That's going to be the very last line in that method. But before that, what do I want to check?
Lines per is a valid input?
Lines per is passed in.
Okay.
Right? What do I want to check? So go back to my example where we had Garrett Hardy and Stu Steiner. How many lines is that? What would lines per be? 2. What if I had Garrett Hardy, Stu Steiner, Blaine?
That would be fine.
That would be bad, right? That would be 5. So the check we want to make here is not that count 0, because that's what we want to do first. But here now we want to say, hey, look, if count mod lines per does not equal 0, then we have a malformed file. That's what that says. We have 5 names in there instead of 6 names in there, or 6 lines in there, right? So again, then we're going to throw a new runtime exception saying that we got a malformed file. Okay. So now I've eliminated all the possibilities to say, hey, I know everything is good and happy. Are you okay, Mark?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Oh.
Hi.
Just keep dropping off my desk.
Well,
That's fine.
How are you, Blaine?
You know, I'm not too bad. How are
Wait a
you?
minute, so you keep lines, so it's like consider there's like a white space in between whatever you're
That would be a malformed file. Right?
So
There's
this-
extra white space. It's a great question. There's extra white space in there that I didn't account for, right? I did Blaine, carriage return, Stu, carriage return, Hardy, carriage return, whatever, right? If I had a bunch of extra lines in there, then I would potentially have a problem. Blaine, go ahead, sorry.
So when it's counting by 1, correct? So if it's not meaning to,
Correct.
what's the purpose of modding it? I guess is my question.
Because, hey, in the case of Stu Steiner, so if we had this, right, Stu Steiner, Garrett with an I, Hardy, right? And lines per was 2, 4 mod 2 would give me a 0, that would tell me I've got 2 names in there.
Isn't our lines per 1 though?
In our case, lines per 1. So we're writing a generic method.
Okay.
Right? We're trying to write a generic method that whatever I give you, it's going to tell me how many records I have. So in this case, yes, it's 1, so who cares? Right? But here, now I care. Right? Because now, that's going to blow up on me. So what you're right, but what I'm trying to do is write a generic method that's going to take care of everything I need for me. Hi, Sydney.
Hello. What if you have like the same amount of errors as lines per? Because
Then we'd be screwed.
Okay.
Okay?
'Cause it would divide
That's
it.
where we live in the happy brother stew land and say that will never happen. Right? And there are ways we would check for that later on, right? I'm just trying to get you to wrap your mind around dealing with these special situations. Is the file empty? Because that's going to give me a count to 0. Is the file weirdly screwed up that is going to, if I try and read from it, it's going to cause me to screw up? Not with like, Stu, carriage return, Steiner, carriage return, Garrett, what's your name?
Garrett?
Garrett, sorry, I'm blank, Garrett, sorry. Garrett, carriage return, Hardy, carriage return, that would be a well-formed file, but that would still mess me up, right? So, in that case, we're screwed, right? I'm just trying to account for very common things, like I have 5 lines where I'm expected to have an even number, type of thing, okay? Now, when we come back, in this count here is gonna be 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? 10, 12, 12 lines, right? So count here is gonna be 12, okay? What we also know is because we did count records, that means that, what's wrong?
It wouldn't be 12.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, there's 12 numbers on the
Well,
whiteboard.
one of your numbers is less than 0.
Okay, great question. Do I care?
Do you?
I don't.
Okay.
Because this is just counting the number of lines in the file. It doesn't look to see what the value is.
What wasn't allowed to be 0?
Count.
Count's not allowed to be 0. It's okay. Okay? So now we come back, we got count 12. But more importantly, what we've got is we've got the file cursor right here after the last line of data. Okay? That's because we had to read through this file one time to figure out how many lines were in it so we could make the array of the correct size. Right? Because what we want to do at this juncture is say int square brackets array gets new int count. Okay? Now I just made a 12 element array numbered from 0 to 11. But more importantly, my cursor is here at the end of file, it's sitting at the end of file marker. right? We don't see the under file marker, but it's there. So what do I need to do is I need to set my cursor from here back up at the top up here. I gotta go from the bottom back up to the top. In Java, there's not a good, clean way to do this like there is in C. In C, you literally just use the word rewind, and it rewinds your file pointer back up to the top. In C, what we have to do is we have to say fin.close. We actually have to close the file, and then we have to reopen it, okay? So then we're gonna say fin gets new scanner INF. Okay? So we're gonna say fin gets new scanner, oops, sorry. I missed the line right here, my bad, I apologize. Between INF and count, we should have the line fin gets new scanner INF. This opened it for the first time. Put the file pointer right here. We walk through that file with the count records. We're at the end of the file. We close it right here. We reopen it right here, and now my file pointer's back up at the top of that, and now I'm ready to start putting stuff into that array, right? Because my cursor's all the way back at the top, and now I'm ready to fill that array with numbers. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to do it this way. Public static int array, fill array. Okay. Sorry, wait a minute, sorry. Something bad over here. I'm wrong over here, sorry. Okay. So the int array gets some methods dot fill array comma count comma fin, okay, right? Because what I need to do is I need to close the file, reopen it, and then have that line of code. So lost my eraser, hang on. My bad, my brain's running ahead of my handwriting. Let me try this one more time. So we open the file. We open the file right here with the fin gets new scanner. We count the number of lines in the file. That puts my file pointer down here at the end of the file. So I have to close the file, fin.close. I need to reopen the file. Fin gets new scanner INF, right? I open that file back up again. I close it, reopen it. This now puts my file cursor up top here. And then I'm going to say int square brackets array gets some methods dot fill array. And I'm going to pass that method a count variable. And I'm going to pass that method the scanner object fin. Okay? So over here, this is some method, this is file utils over here, right? This is file utils. This is the class some methods over here. Public static is going to return an array, it's going to call fill array. It's going to take for its parameter final int count, final scanner fin. Okay? As always, our preconditions are going to be if count is less than 1 or fin is null, then we're going to throw a new illegal argument exception. Okay? At that juncture, now I know I can read the file. I can create the array and read the file. So here I'm going to say int square brackets array gets new int count. Okay. And now I'm going to fill that array with for int x gets 0, x is less than array dot length, x plus plus array sub x gets fin dot next int. return array. All I did was just read those files out of the those numbers out of the file, put them into the array, and return that array. Questions on that? Yes, Blaine.
What if you have a double in there?
Then we're gonna blow up.
Oh.
When we're trying to do it next in, it's gonna automatically blow up first. Alexa, how you doing? Making sense? Tony, how you doing back there? Feeling better?
Still confused about what I missed Wednesday, but yeah.
You missed the beginning of this. So what you missed on Wednesday is a good question. You missed this method right here, which is what we need, in our current home. And we started writing count records, but I ran out of time, so I just redid it. That's what you missed on.
Why do you always define the X inside for? I always
Bye, bye, Matt. Have a good weekend.
Why do you always define the counter inside for? I always do it outside the for loops as like it whenever equals 0, and then just redefine it as whenever equals 0 every time you do a for loop.
So, yeah, and you can do it that way. It's perfectly legit. In case of I'm using the variable and I'm throwing it away when I'm done with it.
I tend to reuse the same variables over and over again, so it's just a lot more convenient.
Other questions? Okay, so now I'm done with my file, so now I'm going to say fin.close and I'm going to leave it closed. I don't need it anymore. Okay? So now I can do whatever I want to on the array. I have an array full of numbers. I can find the mean, the median, the mode, whatever. In my case, I'm just going to print it out. Right? I'm going to say sum methods. Print array, and I'm just simply going to pass it the array. Okay? Now, what I would like to do is I would like to be able to print the array to the screen or to a file. Okay? So if I want to be able to print those numbers to a file that I can use later on. Right? Or I can add numbers to it or whatever, but I want to be able to print to a file. Okay? Right now, this is simply going to print to the screen. Okay? But what I want to do is I want to be able to print to a file. So to print to a file, and I'm going to move this code from here now, right here, up over here, so you can see it. Have a good weekend, Jacob.
Thank you, you too.
So to print to a file is exactly like printing to the screen. Do we remember what type of object system.out is? Does anybody remember what type of object system.out is? We know that system.in is what type of object? It's an input stream, right?
Does that mean system.out an output stream?
So it's an output stream, but it's a special kind of output stream, Aiden. Especially enunciating your name today. Okay, so what is that output stream look like?
Wait, is it like a system.out.print considered an output stream? The SOP we use a lot? SOP whatever?
So if you look here, we can see that system.in is an input stream, system.out is a print stream, okay? So we now need to create a print stream object. We now need to create a print stream object. And we are going to do that by me putting the screen down for a second. Is that more on? Coming here to print stream. And saying, hey, look, Here's a bunch of constructors. Is there one where I can just give it the name of the file?
Yeah.
And it will do something for me. Which one might that be, Kyle?
Print stream.
It's this one right here, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right, so if we, what's that?
That one's
I said, oh, they're all called print stream.
Yeah, exactly.
Which,
If we click on this one right here, it says, hey, look, print stream string file name throws a file not found exception. We know that that file not found exception is the bane of our existence. So we took that right there to take care of it, right? That's gonna take care of that. It creates a new print stream without automatic line flashing. That's gonna be important. With the specified file name, this convenience constructor creates the necessary intermediate output stream writer. So there's an output stream writer behind the scenes, which will code characters using the default character set for this instance of the Java virtual machine. It's going to take the file name, the name of the file as the destination of the print stream. If the file exists, then it will be truncated to 0 size. Otherwise, a new file will be created. So that means that if I do nums.txt as my output file, it's going to close and erase that file and then give me a new file. That's going to empty out that file. That's what that says, right? If the file exists already and you put it in there, it's going to zero out that file, make it empty, and then start writing again to it.
wait,
Okay.
line flushing? I presume line flushing is kind of like the whole like clear out the character chart issue people did.
No, this is completely, if there's data in that file and you give it that file name, that file is gone. That file is gone, it's no more. Whatever data was in there is lost, and you're getting new data into that file.
Line
Okay?
flushing deletes.
So in our case, we're going to do this. Print stream F out for file out. Its new print stream output.txt.
Is this still in
Okay? That's the name of the file it's going to create. Wyatt.
main? Is this still in main?
This is a main. This is right here, Wyatt, but I ran out of room.
I understand.
Okay. Okay? So that just created a print stream object for me that I can use to write to the file.
This will create a file of whatever you named your file.
Yes.
And if you don't include the text part, what happens?
Nothing. It's just going to create a file without .txt Kyle.
If you pass in like system 32, would it break your computer when you run it?
I don't try tonight, Colin. Let me know. No, but I'm sure your virtual machine would be screwed up. It wouldn't break your computer, but it would break your virtual machine. You'd end up reinstalling Java after you spend hours figuring out where all the DLLs and crap are for Java on your Windows box, right? So I would suggest you don't do that. But okay, so I'm going to write a method called SumMethod, right? SumMethods dot print array. I'm going to pass it the array, and I'm going to pass it system.out. And then I'm going to call the same method again, SumMethods dot print array, and I'm going to pass it f out. Okay? So my question to you is 1 or 2 methods? My question to you is 1 or 2? Like you're at the eye doctor, right? Everybody's gone to the eye doctor in their life. You all been to the eye doctor, right? Which is better, 1 or 2? Right? That's what I'm asking you now. Which is better, 1 or 2?
I'm going with the bottom
1 method or 2 methods?
I think it's one.
One?
Aiden says 1.
I mean, we're gonna assume that the whole.
Z or X, did you say something? You sure? I'm positive you said something. Somebody back there said something. Tony? Tony says 1. Why do you say 1, Tony?
We really use this in a lot.
What is system.out? What type of object is that?
Scanner.
What is system.out? What type of object is that? It's a print stream. What type of object is F out?
Print stream.
It's a print stream. They're both print stream objects.
But this don't work?
All they're doing is pointing at different places. System.out is pointing to the screen. Fout is pointing to the file called output.txt in this case. Right? So this method is just simply going to be this. Public static void print array final int square brackets array final print stream output. Okay? One time output's going to take on system.out. One time output's going to take out on fout. Right? So all we have to do here is literally for int val colon array output dot print or print line, because we already know how to do this to the screen. I'm going to say output dot print val plus the space, and at the very end I'm going to say output dot print line, like so, right? And likewise, I could have written this just for you so you see. For int x get 0, x is less than array dot length x plus plus output dot print array sub x plus the space output dot print line the carriage return, like so. Those do the exact same thing, one's just a little more verbose than the other. But the point being, this time here, this is going to print out to the screen. This time here, this is going to print out to the file. And not print to the screen. Questions? Alexa, did I lose you? I did. Just talk to me, Alexa. Don't ask a question, just talk to me. Do you get the system.out part? Okay? So is it confusing because I'm using the word output here, Alexa? Is that what's confusing to you? Then tell me what's confusing. What?
I'm not confused.
Oh, okay. You look. You shook your head yes when I asked if you were confused. Though, instead of no. Questions? Sydney, good to go? Tom?
Feeling okay about it. Probably.
Feeling okay about it, Tom?
Oh, I'll be like trying to do this weekend, just like fussing with my computer, but.
Well, the good thing is you don't have to do this weekend, right? This part you don't have to do when you come home. Okay? This was just a little add-on for me to be able to say, hey, look, we can write to the screen and to the file with the same function because they're both print stream objects. We know system.out.print, right? We just created a new print string called fout, and fout we use the print or the print line or the printf line, just like we did in system.out, because it's a print stream object. Correct. Have a good weekend. I'll see you on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.